rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Wow, my voice was a little weird there. Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome back after a day off and a weekend for it. And there we go. So, all right. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I know that Sunday update really quick. I mean, Saturday, obviously, I was with you folks. Or Saturday night, anyway. But Sunday we went out and got our Christmas tree. It's a family event. We go out, we find a live tree, we get a general consensus on it. I won't say 100% consensus, but a general consensus on which tree to use. And then we cut it down, we go and we do pictures and, for Christmas and, yearly photo kind of deal for, Mrs. Whiskey. That's what she does. And then we take the tree and come back home and set everything up, put up all the decorations. Well, my son, who came along with us, brought his girlfriend along with us. And my daughter brought her boyfriend with us too. Now, don't get me wrong; they were invited. My son and his girlfriend are a little bit farther along in their relationship than my daughter and her boyfriend. But anyway, my son is just like giddy with excitement, and I'm not exactly sure. I didn't really know what the heck was going on, but he was giddy with excitement. And for whatever reason, he had this gift for me. And I told him, I was like, dude, it's Christmas. Okay, come on. You don't need to be giving me a gift now. Give it to me on Christmas. He goes, no. I have to give this to you now because I need to show you what it is. I have to give you this now. And I said, okay, well, all right, fine. Go ahead and, give it to me. Slap it on me there, buddy. Whatever. Well, let me just show you what he gave me. Yes, folks. This is a Trump head coin. It is a 2024 Trump head coin, and on the back, it has the presidential seal of the United States. Yep, Save America, in God We Trust. I think it's a silver dollar, to be honest with you. But yeah, so he went and he got me this. Outside of Christmas, he had to get it to me. So thank him. I want to thank him very much for that. And it comes in a case, but I didn't want to show the case because obviously the case is reflective. But I wanted to show you that it comes in a keepsake case, and so that's what I'm gonna hold on to that. That was awfully nice of him, and it was he was so excited. I have a feeling that he's probably going to think of Trump like I do of Ronald Reagan, as far as that goes. But anyway. Apparently, according to Mark over on Facebook, we kind of grossed him out a little bit with the some of the gifts on Friday or on Saturday. So specifically the toilet one, and yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was sorry about that. I didn't mean to, Mark. Again, it's a gag gift show. It was White Elephant gift show, but I apologize. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get this party started. Tonight we have G leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, and make sure you place your hand over your heart. Join with us and following G, of course, in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the show, it's really relatively simple. All you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, whether it is through audio only or video. I will strip the audio out of the video, so you don't even have to like point the camera at anything. It's just, if that's the easiest way for you to record audio, then we can go ahead and go with that. But take that file that's generated, attach it to an email. According to 3 Chevy, you can attach it with super glue, paper clips, staples. I'm not sure. I think that's all that he's thrown out there. But anyway, and take that and throw that into a email and send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I, of course, will take it and get you into the rotation. All right, tonight's headline promo is theflagshirt.com. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. Look at how beautiful this thing is. This is the American flag shirt. Also, it is the man's, because I am a man. Yes, I do know my gender, unlike the Democrats. But it is a man's cotton polo from theflagshirt.com. It's the flag representation version. And you can check it as well as all of the other wonderful products at theflagshirt.com. Head off to theflagshirt.com and check out all the men's, women's, kids, and accessories that are all in the red, white, and blue. It is a veteran-owned, veteran-run organization, and they do a fantastic job. They currently are showing that they have Get Patriotic for the Holidays seasonal favorites, but they don't have any specials going on. That was their last week. Last week was all of their cyber deals. But as always, if you order $75 or more of product from them, from theflagshirt.com, they will give you free shipping. Now, I know some people can't do $75, especially this time of year. So I'm going to help you out a little bit. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, yes, that's flagshirt, all one word, .americanperspective, all one word, .online, you will be presented with a code that you can then copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, get yourself the coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you will get $5 off your order on me from the American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Everybody. Anyway, sorry. Apparently, Donald Trump went on to a weekend show, Meet the Press. And, oh, well, wait a minute. Before I get there, I got to tell you, this is fantastic news. It broke this afternoon. I'm 100% happy that this happened. This ended almost as it should have, with Daniel Penny found not guilty, okay? He was found not guilty on the second charge. If you remember, the first charge was actually thrown out because of the I guess it's the hung jury, and it wasn't like thrown out to where he couldn't get tried for it again, but it was just dismissed because the jury couldn't come to a unanimous decision on the first charge. So the second charge got deliberated, and it was deliberated fairly shortly, actually. I mean, realistically, it didn't take them very long. And they found him not guilty on the second charge. So he never should have been charged in the first place. But honestly, that's how it should have worked. The minute that it could have been considered self-defense, as far as that goes. But he, he stepped in when a gentleman who was mentally ill and on drugs was threatening folks on a subway. No cop in sight. And he stepped in, took control of the situation, and was able to subdue the man. But unfortunately, the man did pass away during that altercation. And Daniel Penny found not guilty. So that is fantastic news. Like I said, it never should have gone to trial, but it is what it is. Now, Trump apparently showed up on one of the weekend shows called Meet the Press. And we all know that Meet the Press is not a Trump friendly, to say the least, outlet. And during the interview, of course, it was with Kristen Welker on NBC. And let's just say that the interview was slightly contentious. In terms of and they talked about in specifics about the birthright citizenship and the deportation of illegal aliens that are here within, and everybody knows about his mass deportation proposal. Everybody knows about it. It was a major component during his campaign, so on and so forth. He hired the bulldog Tom Homan to take care of it. And Tom Homan is going to whip these people into shape, including the governors that are trying to hang out. But the point is, though, is that a lot of the left jumped on this and was like, oh, see, he's going to break up families. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to do all these bad things. But if you actually listen to what was said, you could really, really see the centrist that is Donald Trump. And unfortunately, the left, totally just blows up over Donald Trump and is like, oh my gosh, he's gonna eliminate abortion. He's going to eliminate birth control. He's going to eliminate same-sex marriage. He's going to eliminate all these, pretty much everything that has been what they would consider a progressive step forward in the last 50 years. He's going to, put women into handmaidens, the Handmaid's Tale outfits, and they're going to be used as concubines and all these other things that are going on. He's going to take, black and brown people, and he's going to shove them into, camps, deportation camps. He's going to torture and possibly, do things to them before he sends them back, all this stuff. It's all fear-mongering. Literally, it's all fear-mongering. Because if you listen to what the man is actually saying, okay, you will see that he is not the far-right Nazi. This is what they accuse him of, because Nazism is not far-right, but far-right Nazi totalitarian, guy that they want to make him out to be. And this is, thankfully, he won the election because of the fact that enough people in America actually saw through the facade that the mainstream media has put forth for this. So the thing about it is that he said a couple of things that did trigger the left. One of them in particular was about working to end birthright citizenship. Now, for those of you who may not recall what birthright citizenship is It's basically what he is going to do is make it so that you can't have what is considered to be an anchor baby. He's going to essentially write an executive order, and this is his plan. He's going to write an executive order that will help to clarify what is birthright citizenship. That, of course, has caused the left to go all kinds of nuts. In fact, the ACLU has already announced that any executive order that Donald Trump writes to clarify the law is going to immediately get challenged in court. And frankly, I'm going to be completely open about this. I welcome that challenge because there are so many things that are questionable in some of these amendments because, unfortunately, a lot of times they wrote these amendments and they wrote the Constitution with the idea that most, if not all, people would completely understand what they were attempting to achieve with this, what they were stating. And the challenge here, of course, is that we have essentially a dumbed-down populace who basically don't understand the Constitution because they've never been educated on it. They've never been educated on the Constitution, its writings, and what its meanings actually are in the context of especially during the times that things were being written. Now, our resident historian has checked in over on Rumble. I expected that she would. But Amy points out that birthright citizenship was put into place to guarantee only colonists, not British-born people, could be considered natural citizens. The founding fathers were very anti-Britain. And that is true. They were, many of them, not all of them, but many of them were, once they won their independence, that is true. But the key here is that the 14th Amendment, in particular, did have a statement in it that sort of clarified, or attempted to clarify, what it actually means. And unfortunately for Trump, Trump was taken to task on this particular issue. And he also was, and by that, I mean, he was asked about it by Kristen Welker. And as a part of that, in particular, NBC apparently selectively omitted some key words in the 14th Amendment about this. And so, the thing about it is that the 14th Amendment, let me tell you something, this amendment is very troublesome. It's been troublesome ever since, realistically, Trump came on the scene, and even before. Because the whole idea of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protections Clause has been used multiple times in some very controversial cases in order to ram through a particular idea. For an example, Roe versus Wade was used, or used the 14th Amendment to push things through. Okay? And it give the illusion of a 50-year law that basically cemented abortion into our federal system, which is not the case and was obviously overturned by Dobbs recently. Now, in order to understand what is going on with this whole idea of the 14th Amendment, let's go ahead and start with this, because this is where the left is going to really try and slam stuff. So, looking in our copy of the Constitution of the United States, fantastic copy, you can get yours from constitution.americanperspective.online. Great little leather-bound keepsake item you can pass down to your young ones. It's got a 100-year warranty on it. Quick plug, fabulous plug. Anyway, to dive in, shameless plug. to dive into the 14th Amendment, and I got to bring it up here because, it's in here. I got to find it. It's in here somewhere. Here we go. So if you read Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, and by the way, the 14th Amendment was passed by Congress in June 13th of 1866. It was ratified on July 9th of 1868. Now, for those of you who are history buffs, what period in American history was going around for that? What period in American history might have happened in 1865, 1866? Oh, that's right. The Civil War just ended. And, by the way, the freeing of the slaves just occurred. And this period was typically called the Reconstruction period because we were reconstructing the United States of America after an internal war that occurred. All right? Now, all of that being said, the Section 1 of the 14th Amendment starts off with, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. Okay, that's the simple statement. Now, here's the thing. Most people look at it and read, or at least are very well aware of, the following. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Well, that right there is the problem. Because there's these little words known as and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, why the hell would they have added that in there? Well, actually, it's pretty simple. They knew that not everybody who was here was subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America at the time the 14th Amendment was written. And they knew that there were people who potentially could come to America and be visiting America and not be subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which essentially, according to my law questions, and there we go. So according to my law questions, basically means that being subject to the jurisdiction means that a legal entity, such as a court or the government of a country, has the right to exert physical control over, as well as apply and enforce its laws against a person. Now, it mentions straight up that it is a stipulation contained in the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that defines who is eligible for citizenship. So here's the thing, all right? And by the way, the precise meaning of the phrase, even within the article here, they say has been subject to debate by scholars and lawmakers, and has also been defined in particular situations by the U.S. Supreme Court. One of those particular situations is this, that if you are born here from a family that is here as an ambassador, as an emissary from another country, it's some kind of political scenario, that if you're born here, but you essentially are not subject to our laws, then you are not and cannot be a U.S. citizen. Now, this is where things kind of get a little sticky. Because in the original idea of who was a natural born citizen or born citizen of the United States, and this is where the interpretation tends to take a little bit of a turn, is whether or not your parents are United States citizens. Because here's the thing. If you go abroad and are born abroad, okay, not necessarily on U.S. soil, but if you are born somewhere else and you, at least one of your parents is a United States citizen, then you are considered a United States citizen. So again, this is where it kind of gets a little sticky. Because according to the idea of the anchor babies, okay, you can come across here as an illegal, pregnant, have your baby within the United States, and that baby becomes a U.S. citizen the minute they are born here. But here's the trick. The definition of being subject to the jurisdiction comes into play. And this is where the rubber is going to meet the road and will probably end up in front of the Supreme Court. This is a very, very narrow definition of what this is, but this is exactly where Donald Trump is going after this law. He is essentially saying that if you are of a descent from two foreign-born parents, that you should not be technically considered under the jurisdiction of the United States, because realistically, if and think about this now, okay, in terms of the legal realms that are out there, if a foreign-born citizen comes here, breaks the law, for an example, comes across the border, doesn't break anything else, but comes across the border and is an illegal alien in our country, what does the law say that we do? We don't necessarily incarcerate them. The punishment is basically immediate deportation and banishment from coming back in to our country for a certain period of time. That means, or that is an indication of the fact that we can't hold that individual who is here illegally in accordance with our laws. Now, there are some specific situations, like with Laken Riley, that the illegal alien who came across the border and killed Laken Riley, he's going to go to prison for sure. Okay, but, and again, that's some stipulations, some specific stipulations and exceptions to this general rule. But if you come here and you have your baby here, your baby doesn't automatically become a United States citizen because your parents are foreign born. And now that changes, of course, to clarify, if your parents have come here under a green card and are in the process of becoming a naturalized citizen, then an argument could be made that your being born here makes you a U.S. citizen. But this is where the crux of the issue comes to play. And as of right now, outside of the idea of being like an ambassador or some attaché to some foreign, like an embassy worker or something like that, all right, this is where the crux of the issue is going to come into play. Because again, the idea of a person who is born and naturalized in the United States, the second qualifier, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, meaning that they have to be answerable to the United States, its Constitution, and its laws. This is where things are going to start to get sticky. And that is exactly where Donald Trump is going with it. Now, keep in mind, the 14th Amendment, as I said, was passed. I got to get down there. Oops, wrong way. The 14th Amendment was passed during Reconstruction. And Abraham Lincoln passed let's see, where is it? Shoot, I lost it. Anyway, he passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866 Congress was using the authority of the newly ratified 13th Amendment. And Johnson was not happy about that. He supported emancipation, but he didn't agree with the 13th Amendment or the 14th Amendment, either one. Okay. Johnson showed relative leniency toward the former Confederate states as they were reintroduced into the Union, but many Northerners were outraged when the newly elected Southern state legislatures, largely dominated by former Confederate leaders, enacted all kinds of black codes and, laws, repressive laws that regulated the behavior of black citizens and effectively kept them dependent upon their white, well, they're no longer slave owners, but still. So Johnson vetoed the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and unfortunately ran into the veto-proof majority because Congress successfully overrode his veto, made it into law in that April. And by the way, that was the first time that Congress overrode a presidential veto of a major bill. But then some Republicans thought that there was another amendment was necessary in order to provide firm constitutional grounds for any new legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Thaddeus Stevens, he introduced the 14th Amendment. And it was a plan that was combining all of it, which is part of the reason why the 14th Amendment was so, seems a little disjointed, because it talks about citizenship, and then it talks about, the ability of the president to serve, even though he or she participated in an insurrection, so on and so forth. Okay. But after essentially he combined different legislative proposals with how to apportion representatives in Congress, punitive measures against the Confederate States, essentially taking on the war debt in America into a single constitutional amendment. And that's where the 14th comes in. And that's why it's all like so disjointed across the board. Now, Johnson at the time made it clear his opposition to the 14th as it made its way through the ratification process. But again, congressional elections gave Republicans veto-proof majorities, and the southern states, of course, also resisted, but Congress required them at the time to ratify the 13th and 14th Amendments as a condition of regaining representation in Congress. And so on July 9th of 1868, Louisiana and South Carolina finally voted to ratify the 14th Amendment and made up the necessary 3/4 majority. So the 14th Amendment is going to be very, very interesting, let's say, this entire situation. And when you break it down, the very first statement, talking about all persons born or naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, something about that, too, keep in mind, that was directly related and directly pushed in reference to the Supreme Court's 1857 Dred Scott decision, in which Chief Justice Roger Taney wrote that a black man, even born free, could not claim rights of citizenship under the federal Constitution. Okay? That, again, so keep in mind, so this is basically saying that, hey, somebody who's born here, all right, is essentially a possibility, but the key there is the subject there and being the subject thereof. And being subjected to the, wait, I got to get this right. Being subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Because also, too, keep in mind that in our early years, they also didn't treat Native Americans as United States citizens. Even though Native Americans were living here and were oftentimes living inside the states that were there, they were never really considered to be United States citizens. This also is prevalent to this day because of the fact that you have the reservations that are out there. Now, I don't know if anybody, I mean, we have a couple around here, but I can tell you that when you walk onto a reservation, you are technically no longer under the necessarily the laws of the state that that reservation resides in. And you may be subject to a certain amount of federal laws, but you are more subject under the tribal laws that are there. Now, generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, okay, 9 times out of 10, if you go on to a reservation and you're subjected to tribal law, they are going to go along with whatever U.S. laws are also in place. But things like, for an example, if you go to buy property on a reservation, just like if you buy property in Hawaii, the Hawaiian Islands and the reservations, they're considered to be tribal and native lands. And so what ends up happening is that you end up leasing the land from the tribe. Now, here in the state of Washington, that's pretty much what happens is if you buy something that is on the reservation land, you're leasing it for 99 years. You don't own that land. That land goes back to the tribe after you're done. And so this is maybe not exactly, but it's very similar to the way that the Hawaiian Islands work. You're actually renting or leasing the property from the Hawaiians, the native Hawaiians, over in Hawaii. Alaska, I think in some areas has the same kind of concept, but that's essentially how the purchasing of a piece of property works. You're purchasing the property, yes, but you're not purchasing the actual land underneath. You're purchasing the house, you're purchasing any of the development that's gone on, but you're not actually purchasing the land. The land is leased. It's leased to you. Now that may not go, please don't quote me on the whole Hawaii thing, whether or not the entirety of Hawaii is, but I believe that's how it works. I know that's how it works here in the state of Washington on tribal land, because I was looking at a piece of property at one point on tribal land, and that was one thing that I basically went, nope, I'm done, and I didn't purchase. But anyway, there are indications throughout, and this is what I'm trying to get at, is there are indications throughout our history that just being born on this continent within the state's boundaries does not necessarily confer immediate citizenship rights upon you. We've covered this in the past. I covered it with the idea of the I can't remember the name or the specific term with it, but sovereign citizens, that's the term. It just came into my head. There's a group of people that believe that they are sovereign citizens, meaning that they are citizens of the United States, but they are not subject to its laws. Therefore, I mean, technically, I guess under this definition, you wouldn't be considered an actual U.S. citizen. And we covered that in the past, as well as the idea of the native Hawaiians living under the nation of Hawaii, not the state of Hawaii. And that does exist. There is a section of Hawaii where there are native Hawaiians that actually live in an area that is cordoned off to bordered, got a fence around it, so on and so forth. And you know, if you go in there, you are actually leaving the United States and you're going into the sovereign territory of the Hawaiians. And they have their own flag, their own laws, so on and so forth. So there are instances across the board where people don't necessarily, whether they were born here or not, they don't necessarily fit within the idea of being a U.S. citizen. And so this is the argument that Trump is definitely making with regards to this entire situation, that, hey, even if you're born here, you may not actually qualify to be a United States citizen. And in the case of the idea of the terminology natural born, there is a suggestion that being a natural born citizen means that you must come from parents, both sets of parents, because the whole concept of the presidency means that you are not subject or beholden to, and this was part of the reason, part of the arguments back and forth about the terminology of natural born, that they basically wanted to make sure that we couldn't have a foreign-born individual who might still have ties to that other country come to our country and be able to become the president of the United States, which is part of the reason why there were so many questions with regards to Barack Obama, because there is evidence of him claiming to be a Kenyan citizen and not a U.S. citizen back in his college days. So all of this, of course, is this, again, I think that what's going to end up happening here is that we're going to have an essential constitutional crisis, per se, to where this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to have to actually clearly define what it means to be subject to the jurisdiction thereof, truly, what it truly means. And frankly, like I said, I'm kind of glad, honestly, that we can get at least some sort of a definition on this. Because again, keep in mind, the only real cases that we have at this point have to deal with people, you know, that the courts have ruled upon happen to be from people from embassies and things like that. Now, here in the United States does not recognize dual citizenship. Many other countries do recognize dual citizenship. So here in the United States, when you become a citizen, you swear to the fact that you are leaving all your rights, you're giving away any claim that you have for that other country. And that you are swearing that you have turned all of that, you've turned away from that other country, and you will never, ever be part of that other country ever again. And that you are joining the United States, this is all part of the naturalization process, that you're joining the United States without reservation, without any sort of tie, without any sort of connection back to your homeland. So this would indicate, again, in terms of a thought process from the founders on down, that the idea here is that you cannot have any kind of connection to any other country. And it's all these points that could be argued in front of the Supreme Court in order to define the idea of what the being subject to the jurisdiction thereof actually and truly means. And this is the argument. So, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, first of all, blasted NBC News for selectively omitting that key part of it. But he also kind of noted that those words make a difference, and he did that on X. He also continued to break down the issue in what was a 12-part thread. He also points out, just like a lot of other people pointed out, under the 14th Amendment, when they were arguing Section 3, okay, with regards to the president's, in particular President Trump, his ability to be president of the United States, because of that whole having participated in an insurrection thing. But one thing that they always point out, or forget to point out, and this is what the Supreme Court actually did by saying that Congress is the one that can determine eligibility for the president, when that decision, the Colorado versus the U.S. decision, is because of this article right here, Section 5, which a lot of people miss, which essentially states at the very bottom, Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this argument, of this article. That clearly states that Congress can make laws with regards to this. So theoretically speaking, Congress could change the definition of, or define the definition of, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And that, I'm going to tell you, is more than likely where this may go with it. So Mike Lee, again, was talking on X, and he basically points out that while current law contains no such restriction, Congress could pass a law defining what it means to be born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, excluding prospectively from birthright citizenship individuals born in the U.S. to illegal aliens. He mentions that those who suggest that Congress is somehow powerless to limit birthright citizenship ignore the important constitutional text giving Congress the power to define who among those born in the United States is born subject to the jurisdiction thereof. In particular, he's also talking about Section 5. He also is talking about the original Article 1, which talks about immigration. Immigration laws and deciding all of that is part of Congress's constitutional duty. So, yeah, this is going to be a hotly contested issue. I'm just going to tell you that right now, that we're going to have some very interesting incoming stuff. To be honest with you, it doesn't really surprise me that Trump is doing this. But at the same time, it does kind of surprise me that Trump is doing this, because he is deciding very quickly to take on the idea, and this is directly related, by the way, to his whole immigration policy. His mindset is we need to get rid of or get out anyone who came here illegally. He seems to be and appears to be a man who is bent on the rule of law, which I'm pleasantly pleased with, because that's how I work. Now, he was also asked, by the way, with regards to the deportations, the upcoming deportations. Now, first of all, keep in mind, all he's going to, and Tom Homan has already stated this, they are going to focus on the illegal aliens, especially the ones that have crossed the border over the course of the last 4 years, that literally do not have an asylum claim or any other legal claim that have been released into this country and are here completely illegally, having not zero going through the actual process as demonstrated and required by law. For an example, the first thing being that if you are going to claim asylum, you must claim asylum at specific locations. You can't just come across the border at a broken area of fencing and claim asylum. You must go to a U.S. embassy in the other country in which you reside, or potentially go through a specific port of entry to claim that asylum. So that's one thing in particular that hasn't changed as far as I'm aware in terms of immigration law. So Tom Homan has rightly said, as well as the president has rightly said too, that we're going to focus on those folks first. But eventually you're going to get to what are considered the dreamers. All right. And the dreamers are those who came across and again created anchor babies, or they came across as young children and have been here all throughout their lives. But he also addressed the question as well with regards to whether or not an entire family, part of them being here legally, part of them being illegally, what are you going to do here? And Trump essentially said that we're not going to break the families up, because that was the specific question. Where are you going to break the families up? And he essentially said, no, we'll send the entire family. Okay. Very humanely back, that they won't be separated. All right. Tom Homan has said the exact same thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm basically saying, okay, look, I mean, Trump basically said, quote, we don't have to separate a family. We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came. That way the family's not separated. Now, he did say that what will happen will depend upon the family in question, as some may prefer just to send the illegal alien member back of their family back to the country of origin. Now, he said this, he's like, we need deterrence. Look, when somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together. So, yeah. That's the thing. Yep. So, this is definitely going to be some serious questions are going to be asked, and we're going to see, again, I'm telling you, this Trump term is going to be an exercise in constitutional civics as well as federalism between the federal government and the states. What powers reside where? And I'm telling you, the Supreme Court's going to make their money. They're going to get exercised on all of this. They're going to get exercised on all this. And 3 Chevy comments here. Like, I wish Rick was on Facebook. I got a troll person, liberal idiot, moron that says stupid shit. I am on Facebook. In fact, if you look right here, you'll see it come up here in a little bit. This is my Gab handle, but I am also on Facebook, both as a page, and you can tag me, and I could talk or decide not to, one or the other. But I love taking on morons, so yeah, we're good to go there. All right. So, some of the people that are out there, and by the people, I mean the leftist lunatic mainstream media people, are starting to realize that that whole pardon idea that Biden did, yeah, that may not necessarily go. Becky points out that she's Australian, and she had to denounce her British and Maltese citizenships to become Australian. So they obviously have something very, very close to ours. Maybe not required by law. I don't know how Australia works, but there you go. So, but anyway, back to the subject at hand. Chris Cuomo. He's still around. He's on News Nation. He has his own show called, really shortly, Cuomo. But he actually was on he actually argued that Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son Hunter has inadvertently handed President-elect Donald Trump a potential tool to counter his own legal battles. Now, this is kind of an interesting angle, and this is the only reason that I'm really using it here. But let's take a listen to what Chris is talking about with regards to this.
It took exactly 1 day for Trump and the Funky Bunch to seize on the gift that Biden just gave him. Democrats are saying, oh, I can't support Biden's decision. This is about principle. Look, everyone gets protecting family except the cancel crazy people. But this isn't about that. This is about how Biden justified this. I guess I didn't put a fine enough point on it yesterday. So let me say it again. This was a huge admission, what Biden said here. Who knew in the Democrat ranks that Biden was going to say he was pardoning his son, not because it's his son, not because he's got to protect him, but because of political prosecutions and overreach? Who knew? People had to know. People had to know how dangerous this pardon was going to look. And by the way, there may be another coming for his brother, and maybe himself too, who knows? Because clearly what Biden is trying to do is insulate all three of them from funny money probes. That's why you bracket the 10-year period. It's not how that usually works. Usually you'd say, this is my son. This is what he was convicted of. He owns it. He pleaded guilty. That's it. I'm letting him go. He's my son. If you don't like it, I'm on the way out anyway. You would have gotten that. Democrats could say, no, no one's above the law. Forget it. Nobody believes that. And yet he's blaming his behavior in advance on a corrupt system. Tell me, who does he sound like? That is the answer to why the Democrats lost. Because he sounds just like the guy who's supposed to be so much worse. And the Democrats, protectors of the institutions, let it happen. You let a sitting president say, the DOJ on my watch was dirty in how it went after my son. How do you let that happen? And in so doing, you have sealed our fate. You have allowed Biden to validate the exact argument. You gave Trump the exact baseball bat that Trump and the Funky Bunch are going to use to make justified what's about to happen. They are going to beat you to death with the bat you just handed them. They're just going to go after the other side for going after them. This is why you lost. You say Trump is FOS, and then you play the same game. I told you yesterday this would happen. And it happened today. I didn't think it would happen that fast, but it did. Trump's lawyer. It took.
So Cuomo's got a point here. I mean, now granted, it's a nuanced point, but he definitely has a point here. Biden essentially admitted to the fact, by giving that 10-year period, he essentially admitted to the fact that his DOJ has been weaponized. So, congratulations to Trump. Congratulations to Trump and his lawyers for using Biden's own words against him, and hopefully that works out for them. All right, folks, that is it for me for tonight. I wanted to just laugh at Cuomo. That's just he's getting red-pilled, baby. He's getting red-pilled. Yeah, Trump and the Funky Bunch. Anyway. That is it for me for tonight, folks. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are there and signed up, search up the American Perspective channel And make sure you click that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit all those thumbs up and like buttons down on all of my outlets, whether it's X, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, Rumble, because that helps elevate these videos in the standings, and I would love to get exposed to a higher audience. No, I'm not going to expose myself, but I'd love for others to get exposed for all of this. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.